Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts, hold on tight. You're in for one crazy, epically cool, and amazing ride tonight on the Josh Nolan and Oliver S. Full Throttle Racing Show, hashtag one on YouTube. Tonight we have with us racing sensation, racing superstar, Landon Moser. Welcome to the show, Mr. Landon.
Thanks, Josh. Nice to hear from you.
Yes. So, Landon, let's talk about your racing career. Where did this awesome journey begin for you?
Oh, oh my gosh. So this is a whole story. Like Josh said, fasten your seatbelts
Yes.
um, oh man, I think I'll start with, so I kind of got like a lot of like my mechanic side and stuff of like, just like taking things apart from like, I was pretty young. So my dad got me a kitty cat, like one of the little Articat sleds
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was 5 or 6. And how that happened was I drove it around. We went out to a field and then it blew up. So, you gotta remember, I'm 5 or 6 years old, and my dad just told me what bolts to turn, and I just turned them. So I rebuilt my first engine when I was pretty young. That is like my latest memory of that. And that's just the cool part is like that is the first thing I remember is just working on engines with my dad. And then as I kind of grew up, like I've always kind of had that thing. Like there was one day, I was like 7 or 8, and my dad he worked at a metal plant. He still does, but he made like these little like side skirts for a wagon,
Okay.
and I like drilled these 2 holes in it, and he was taking forever to wake up, so I just drilled 2 holes and I bolted him on, and he came outside, and I had it all, I had it hooked up to the back of my four-wheeler.
Oh,
But
boy.
yeah, I think I started pretty young, and then I just kind of started messing with stuff and kind of started to like just just work like if some family member had like a problem with something, I'd like they'd bring it to my house, and then I'd like tear it apart and try and fix it. And a lot of the times I got it. And one thing that's like really amazing that I picked up from my dad, I'm glad I did, because it takes a whole lot of worry out, even though I still worry all the time. He every time he sees like a problem with like a mechanics, like an engine or something's not working right or something, like when I was watching him as a kid work on cars and stuff, and I'd be there, handing him wrenches and just kind of take in what I could get, and every now and then he'd be like, "Here, you try." And it just whenever there was a problem, like he could think outside the box, and he could always just take it apart. And just as a kid, like I always knew that he was going to get it back together. He was going to figure it out no matter how hard you just pounded your head on it. And I see life in a lot of ways like that too. Like, no matter how rough it gets, in the end, it always comes together. And like, you always got to remember that. But, yeah, that's just something really amazing that I could just, you couldn't just, you didn't just hear about it. Like, you saw it, you saw his mind working in just ways that just is crazy. And I think I kind of took that from him, because there's been some things that I've done that it just worked. But so yeah, and then one day I started to get a little bit curious, and I kind of wanted to like get into something. And actually, this is kind of funny. So we bought a go-kart. It was like a 1987 Silver Streak off of Craigslist. We didn't figure out what this thing was until like I was trying to race it. And we went down to Sioux Falls, we picked it up, and I actually we got in a little bit of a trouble with this, because we rode it around the parking lot, and they didn't like it. We got a bunch of trouble in it. One of my buddies actually ended up hitting a car with it. So,
Ooh.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And then my dad, he was at work, and he came, picked it up, and yeah, he didn't like that. But and then like I saw a picture of it one day, and well, so yeah, so I saw a picture of like my first actual racing go-kart, and I just it was cool. I mean, it really was. It was like I kind of figured, man, I was a little jealous I didn't have one. I was like, I need something like that. So, but kind of this guy's name is Dustin Feline. He really helped me just get started, and like he just showed me and taught me things that I mean, I was yeah. I mean, it just a lot of them still stick with me today. I mean, you never forget those type of people that get you started. I mean, I believe you should never, you should always find a way to give back to the people who picked you up when you
Oh
didn't
yeah,
have, you know?
yeah,
So, um, we went, yeah, so it was that winter. I think I think I was like 12 at this point. And that winter, we went to Grand Forks. I don't know if you know where that is,
yep.
but
I know where Grand Forks is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and they had like a winter go-kart association.
Okay.
I actually won myself back there that red plaque.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll still get to that. But so that was the first time I went to my first like race, and I was like first time in my life that I actually like got out the door and I got into it a little bit. And after I mean I saw one go-kart and I thought, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. And then you see 20, 30 of them and you're like, oh my God. And it just I remember just how empowering it felt. And it just I wanted to do it. I really did. So and Dustin's kid Denham, he won I think he won two of the four features they had that weekend. So I mean it was when you're on that side of the team, he made it look so easy. He really did. And yeah, so then it was about 4 or 5 months after that we contacted Rick Cartney and we got a
Okay.
go-kart off of him, which I wish I never sold. Like, I mean, I really wish I'd never sold that go-kart. There's still some things you could use it for, like Coke syrup racing. It was Avenger. I mean, it was like it was perfect for what I needed to get started. And um man, I had so many it was crazy how it all came together and it all like because you gotta remember, like I barely have any like I myself have no backstory into racing. My dad, he raced cruisers, which is like it was a car that was it had one guy steering and it had one guy with the pedals.
I know what cruisers are. Yeah, I know what cruisers
Yeah.
are.
Do you remember him?
Oh yes, yes.
Oh, well, yeah, he got into that. And I mean, at the time when he was racing those, I was a baby, I was 4 or 5 months old. And he quit about the time I was three. So I mean, I barely remember that. I should have almost got the picture, but I have a picture of me sitting behind the wheel in his car, and I'm smiling, and it it just looks like I'm having the best time in the world, you know. And I
Yeah.
really like that picture because it blew up over the years. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I think that's where I found my passion. But where were we at? So yeah, like I didn't have a whole I mean, we weren't totally, we didn't know what was going on, and because it's your first year racing,
Oh yeah.
and you're right. I mean, I remember showing up to the hot lap session with that go kart, and my dad pulls up and he puts it in park, and he's just like, "Man, we don't belong here," because like like seeing everybody else's stuff, and we showed up in the back of everything in the back of the truck. I mean, we didn't have a cart stand, nothing. We had like we had two step stools was the cart stand at,
Oh boy.
at my first. Yeah, oh, I mean, it was a great start, and
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you got to start somewhere. Yeah, it was
True.
fun. But that's in Aberdeen, and man, I raced there for like 3 years, and I think if you ask anybody, I think I made a good mark there because you ask anybody who's like watched a local night there the 3 years that I raced there like about every weekend. And um well anyways, there was a couple kids that were really good. I remember my first feature, we I had one of my buddies, Austin Hedman. He was from my school, and we just became good friends. And I was like, hey, I just started this racing thing. You wanna come with? And man, I feel bad still to this day for doing it to him, but we were putting the tires on before I went out for my first ever feature. And he was putting the right sides on and I was putting the left sides on. And I forgot I I blamed it on him because I was just angry because I was like, holy cow, but we had a left rear fall off and I was running second, my first ever kart
Oh
race.
boy.
And it was I mean, it was for me, I thought I was like, whoa, man, I'm pretty good at this, you know? Um it's definitely been yeah, the whole it was I got mad at him and it was yeah. But that's kind of how our first race went. And I remember just from that day, it was just, something new, something that just like that sparks you. And it really and I swam for like maybe 11 years prior to this. I mean, I've been swimming since I was a little kid. And I quit that when I was about 14 because I got a job and I started to go racing full time. And I think I started when I was 13. And after that first year, I was really hooked. And we raced. I mean, tried to race as much as we could. But again, like it was my mom, me, my brother. It was kind of like a family thing.
Oh
We'd
yeah.
all go out to
Oh
the
yeah.
race.
Family pair.
Oh, it is, and we're man. I got so much to say. I hope I hope you're ready. I love this, but so yeah, and then after my first year, I wanted to get more involved with it. So I started. I mean, I pretty much ran the same exact thing a second year, like, and there's this one kid. His name is Hayden Wheelhouse, and and this is the truest thing. I'm gonna hold up on my story. This is the truest thing I've noticed in racing is you may think this happens to me every time I meet someone and I don't think I like them or I think they're rude or something, you know.
Yeah.
But then you give it like a couple months and it turns around and they're my best friends. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've met all of my I mean everybody I could call right now and they would pick up. When I met him, I didn't like him. I thought I didn't know what to think of him, you know? Or I just thought they drove me really dirty and I didn't like him for that or something like that. But all those people are honestly like my closest friends now. They really are.
Okay.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm not gonna say all the
Oh yeah.
names,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah. 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 I understand. I understand it.
anyways, so Hayden Wheelhouse, he's a great kid. He runs and he goes out and he's an awesome kid. He's gonna go be a plumber, so I'm glad he's gonna do really good for himself. I know he will. He's a great kid. But um this was like the big thing. I feel like more people watched me in the junior two race than some of the adult races because I didn't have a whole lot. We didn't even I didn't even get a stagger tape until my third year. I was homemade
Oh yeah.
mixing prep. I was guessing tire pressures. I mean, I didn't know any of I mean, not even a sliver of what I know now. And if I had to go back and do it again with what I had, I mean, it is so it is so thin about what I had. And I think I did so good with it because um I mean I didn't have nothing super nice or I mean I had one set of tires my first 2 years. I mean, or I think the second year I bought like another set or something. I barely had any tires. I just raced it and raced it and raced it. So and about every feature the second year, it was me and Hayden Wheelhouse would always come out top two people on the racetrack. And
Okay.
it was awesome because Hayden had really nice stuff and they've been in it for years, so they've kind of known. And it was just crazy how I wasn't that far behind, you know? It's like I have a good shot at a lot of the local features that I ran. And if I just needed a little more persuasion or a little more something, I mean, it would have been. But it was awesome because I mean, you see some 14-year-old kid over there, and you think, oh, he's just driving it, and that wasn't what it was because my dad, he he made a promise with me. It was like, all right, I'll help you go racing, but everything else, that's all you. And about my third year, this is where it started to get a little bit rougher because I think I was 14, 15 by now. Um, yeah, it was my third year. Oh wait, so yeah, hold up. So there's a little bit of an incident between me and my dad, and this is where he started to like grow away from it. Was my third year. Um, I bought Hayden Wheelhouse's go-kart, and because it was the kart that was
Okay.
beating me, I was like, I gotta have that. Those are the guys who were beating me. So I was a waiter at the time, and that's how I paid for that. Was I went to work, collected all the tips I could, and I remember picking the go-kart up. I was like, man, this is something new. I mean, this is like it just felt like it opened a door for me to go bigger. And that's exactly what I did. And um we kept racing Aberdeen. We started to kind of realize, well, I know I was wanting to race more, so I wanted to find more racetracks. So I started to get on Facebook and just kind of look through and see what what else tracks were racing, finding dates.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to a couple. I mean, my dad wasn't too fond of like starting to travel more. And I wanted it so bad that this is where me and him kind of started to separate a little bit, you see.
Okay.
And I had my driver's license at the time. Um, but it was state championship that year. And the year prior, I mean, a lot of good guys came to the state championship. I ran third, and then I got a black flag because it's junior two racing. It's rough.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if one
Yeah.
if one guy spins one guy out, you're out. And it was just a bad deal. I wasn't mad. I had fun because I even raced up to like third, I think it was. I was impressed by that, and I was happy with that. But so yeah, and this next year we had this brand new to me go-kart, and
Yeah.
we were not doing very good. And I started to really like pull more things apart and figure out like cross and left side weight, stagger. I started to kind of like realize some of that. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
entirely know like how to really use it, but I started to kind of play with it. And I mean, just to get your mind moving. And I think it was a great way. I mean, you have to go through a rough year to have a good year. I
Oh, yeah.
swear
True.
in this sport, you will fail over and over before it's right. And
Oh, yeah.
and that's how life is too. I mean,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
gonna have to. You're gonna have to. I mean, it's bound to happen. But that state race, my dad, I mean, we were not running very good at all. And
Okay.
I came off the racetrack and my dad was like, "Man, you looked really good out there." And I gave him a really smart ass comment. And I was, I think I was 14 at the time, no, 15 maybe. I can't remember. I'm only 18, but um,
Okay.
and I gave him a comment and he didn't like it at all. And he went back to go sit on the grandstands. And was the first time that it was just all me because I we still had features to go. I still had like another hot lap session, and it was just all me. And it just and this was the part where it's fight or flight, and it's you grow up
Oh,
or
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was really mad, and I just pulled myself together, and I just started to get it right. Um, I know we weren't like super fast there. I know like on the big feature, um, I I kind of had like a bad luck sort of situation, but I
Oh,
was
okay.
I was doing a little bit better. And I think once my dad saw that, he just he want he I'm not saying he wasn't present, but he kind of backed away from it and let me run, you know.
Okay.
But he's an awesome figure to all of it. I mean, he really just he taught me like the skill set and gave me like the tools I needed, and I just took it and ran with it.
All right.
But um so yeah, and then I started to travel. I remember um oh it was so much. I never regret not wanting to travel because it was as soon as I started to do it, you start to get all these other new aspects and new,
Oh yeah,
you know, different dirt. You got different racetrack, different sizes, and you just and you start to learn what everything is used for. And that was
exactly, exactly.
right. And that was perfect for me because then this was crazy. So one of the big things I did that year, my third year, was we got the go-kart together and I was 15 at the time. And I met my buddy Trevor Roosh that year, and done a lot for me this year. But me and him, we took two separate vehicles. He drove his truck and his kart stuff. He drove down to Newton, and me, 15 years old, I drove 6 hours away from home, and I raced that weekend. And I mean, like, it's just crazy that looking back, thinking I did that because I mean,
Oh yeah,
that is a young kid to just drive. I mean, I did. I know we were half decent. We were like 10th, but out of like maybe 20 juniors. So I mean, we were doing pretty good, I thought, just for being just me. And my uncle, okay, I can't take all the blame. My uncle did come with me. I picked him up in Sioux Falls, but I mean, majority of the trip he was sleeping, but it was awesome because he was an awesome guy in the pits because oh, like I was kind of like a crew chief to him. So it was hey, Mitch, could you go wash a tire? And he'd do it. Can you change a driver? And he had no experience with any of this stuff, and he'd figure it out because he previously was a mechanic. So I mean, it
oh
helped
yeah,
us a lot. But this is this was where like I started to grow, I think, and I think actually around this time I think about that off season I made the Times Up Motorsports page, which I have a lot of great things to say about. Um, and then so yeah, then we led into um man, yeah. I know we had like a couple races here and there, and we just we did most of the time I did like a lot of local stuff around this time. And I was still, getting better, like figuring things out. And I mean, one race I don't want to forget real quick. I think it was my second year, Dustin Fleen. He brung me to a he brung me to a Max Daddy, the 50 lap race. It was in Cedar Lake that year, and I mean, I had this. It was crazy. I mean, I had this cart and it had like an old body on it and everything, and it just looked beat up. And man, that was the part that really got me hooked that weekend because it was just me and Dustin, and it was his kid was racing. It was me. I was racing, and I started like of that feature, I started like dead last, like 23rd, because I
yeah,
mean it was something completely different. I didn't know what I was again, like it was all like up in the air. I was just
yeah.
trying my hardest. And in that feature, I started 23rd, and there was some kids telling me, "Oh yeah, my goal is to get at least 10th, or at least 5th, or race up to this." And like it was just crazy because some of those kids they either broke or they got in a wreck or I passed some but I raced all the way up to 10th. And when I pulled off the racetrack, I mean it legit felt like I won the race. And I mean I finished only 10th, and like I drove off the racetrack, and I just sat in my car and I cried because I was just it felt like a huge relief. When you just
Oh yeah,
it actually felt like an out of body experience because I was so proud of myself that I drove it up. I mean, 13 spots. It was insane. I mean, I don't even know what even happened. It worked. And it was crazy. I mean, I really had like a great connection with just me and racing. It really hit my heart. Like it was surreal that it happened. I mean, I, yeah, it was awesome. But, so then we'll just keep continuing. We're almost to the end. But, so then last year was I mean, I might be missing a year. I don't know. I'm just remembering as much as I can.
okay,
Um,
okay.
I think that might have been the COVID. No, I don't know. It was one of the years. Um, I didn't race a whole lot. I kind of this was the year I moved up into adult, and I just it was. I mean, I got like a good cart put together, and I really thought I had it, and I didn't have tires at the time, and this is when I started to kind of when it all hit me because showing me that you do need to try a lot harder racing these adult guys
Oh
because
yeah,
they've been I mean it's honestly it is like you have to have respect for these guys who've been doing it for 20 you know Eddie Bro's been doing it for over 30 years. He's the best in the Midwest. I mean, it's you got to have respect for a lot of these guys because they just, I mean, I remember feeling by standing by some of these guys that I've just looked up to for years, and now I'm racing them, and I mean, I totally I got beat really hard. Let's just say that. I mean,
yeah,
it is two different driving styles from like a younger junior two kart. You take a 13-year-old that doesn't have like a lot of, can't really wait a whole lot or,
oh yeah,
gets jumpy and just wants to go lead in the first lap. To an adult, I've kind of learned a little bit of how the racing works. Like an adult knows where they're gonna go before they're there. And
yeah,
it's all like timing and just kind of it's you're using your brain when you're racing, and
yeah,
even at a lot of these racetracks, I mean, you can go back and look at all the times and look on my race pass, and I mean, there's times where the top five aren't even the fastest go-karts. It's just good. They just know like how to race,
yeah,
and they just know how to push the cart where and how to use a tire right. And I mean, it is all a mind game when you get into adult because like from a junior two, I noticed this was a huge thing with the mini con I bought from Hayden Wheelhouse. Like when I took the restrictor plate off that and I rode the adult cart, um,
yeah,
and you add more weight on the cart, of course, right? And you use a tire so much harder with that like those years where I only used, maybe 6, 7 sets of tires a year. I mean that doesn't cut it anymore because you're using that entire tire now. And that's I mean that was kind of why I didn't race a whole lot that year because it was such a big change for me. And I knew something. I mean I tried and I tried and there was just nothing I could do to fix the go-kart. So um that was last year and I quit really early because it just wasn't gonna work for me. And I realized that. And I mean, I swallowed my pride and went home early, right? And you
yeah.
just gotta do that sometimes, I feel like, you have to
I
hit
mean,
that
definitely.
right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You gotta know when. But and then I started to really talk to Trevor Bruce, and he really got me set on the right path for, I mean, everything. And actually, this orange body right here, that is the one I ran. That's the one I
Okay.
ran this year. And yeah, it was so he cut me. I mean, not really cut me a deal. I mean, it was hold up.
Not a problem. I gotta take a little drink too.
Me too, right?
Yeah,
But um, I called him, and I mean, I think I was working at Menards at that time, and I was like, "Hey, man, um, do you think you have a go-kart for me that I could buy off of you? Because I always looked up to him, and me and him were kind of we knew each other. I mean, we text each other every now and then, but we weren't like really close. And
yeah.
right, I mean, so yeah, I called him, and he actually held a go-kart for me until I had enough money to buy it. And he didn't just get me a cart, and he was also selling engines, and I asked him about that. Put an engine in the deal with me, and he brung me like 15 sets of tires. It was crazy. I mean, it was all for for a price, but I mean,
Oh yeah,
it was everything I needed to. to get bigger and travel more. And um this week, this last year was honestly like my best year by far. I mean, it was like I there was so many things, that so many races and like things that I finished that I would not have think I would have even like competed in. And here I like ended up doing a lot of this stuff and going far with it. At least I feel like I did. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I was 17 last year. So you got to think, I mean, I'm not even old enough to buy a lottery ticket. And I'm racing these guys who've been racing for 30 years. And I feel like I had so many great races. Like, um, there was one at Cedar Lake where I think I like qualified fifth, and I raced it up to third, and I kind of held it there for like most of the race, and it was in a Max's event. So I'm like, oh my God, this is literally the peak of my career. And literally from the start of my year last year, it only went up and up and up and up and up. And it was crazy because it was like, when's
Oh
it
yeah.
gonna stop? Because my first weekend I was like running like almost last, you know. And I was upset again because it's a brand new go-kart to me. And like but it's awesome how you can pull it apart when you sit back, and you have to criticize yourself and figure out what's wrong. But I'm sorry, I totally got off topic with the other thing. But like, and I noticed like from the start, I was like, man, I am really not all here with a driver. Like I knew I was not complete. I knew I still needed a lot of work. I don't think I am. I think a lot. I mean, I could always use a lot more seat time, But and I start like it was just kind of neat how I realized, okay, I need to drive better, right? So I start going to different racetracks, and I start to realize that you know, like how you drive the go kart, like what each track that you get on can teach you something new. Like before, I was just going to tracks and figure out how to like set the go kart up to work there. And now, I mean, I know how to do that, and now I'm figuring out, okay, now how do you drive that? You know? And I mean that there's four things that that make you great in this sport. And that's time, money, talent, and help, you know. And I
Yeah.
really do believe that. But and I mean it's hard to get all those four things right, but I started to build myself as a driver, right? So yeah. And where am I going with this? But yeah, there was just a couple awesome races that happened. I mean, I think it all started at the Cedar Lake thing I was just talking about. Was like I then finished fourth in that race for that weekend, and that was my all-time height of the career. I mean, I never thought I could race up that much. I mean, it like I remember I was in the race, and for a split second, I was just racing and I was driving. For a split second, I just thought, I was like, oh my God, there's a chance of me winning this race. I mean, I can see the front, I mean, like I can really see the leader and the guy in second, like fighting each other, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I could actually win this. But my tires fell off. I mean, I was still very proud of finishing fourth at an event like that because,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, you gotta be. I feel like you have to be because it's huge for me. And then it got better because even though it wasn't a whole big thing about when I won a B main, I mean it's not really a big thing, but there was almost 40 go-karts at the 1200 to win at water race. And I started the day doing like kind of not as good,
Yeah.
like farther to mid pack. And like Trevor again, he kind of guided me and gave me like, hey man, you should try this. And I tried it, and there was one of those B mains I started in that I started seventh, and I raced it all the way up, and I got like two cart lengths on the guy in second. It's just when you get to that level of racing, everything is so
Yeah.
close. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's just so close, you know, and like, like it's hard to know what to do, you know, and like just yeah. I mean, and yeah. Well, I'll keep going with my story. So that was that race I had this year, and that's when I got the nickname the B Main Bandit. And I actually have a card here. We made some cards too this year, but
Very cool.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Connor Germain. He gave me that name, and that's kind of and it's kind of like I always kind of wanted a nickname. I never really thought about it, but then it came up, and I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect. But yeah, I mean, they were just B mains that I did amazing in, and it's only like a self-esteem booster, and then it still got better from there. I mean, it was great because like it finally felt like it all started to come together this past year, and I mean, if I had 5 more years, who knows? I mean, I've this is all the progress I've made in 5 years. I mean, I think
That's
honestly,
a
if
lot of
I had,
progress.
yeah, yeah, and if I had this same progress growing up, I mean, it would be to me, I think it'd be surreal. It'd be crazy what I could do if like I just kept learning and I just kept putting my head down and working. I just kept just being me, you know? And
Yeah.
I actually have this one right here. That is my I think it was like a couple of weeks after we went to we went to the Atwater race. Um it was back at Aberdeen, and this was the first time I raced at Aberdeen last year, which is um where I grew up. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I see it. That's how I see it is like at that racetrack, it is a driver's track. I mean, it does show you how to race, and a lot of people there that went to that race were people who showed me how to race, and literally like they watched me grow up. And I mean, it's just me in that racetrack. It felt like it was perfect. It was all perfect. I mean, I wish I would have won that race, but Kirk Webber was gone. I mean, I wasn't gonna catch him. I'm glad he won. I mean, you got to give it to the guy who won the race because he won the race. I mean, what do you really do?
Oh yeah.
But um, and I was struggling that day too. I was like, I wasn't struggling. I was doing good, but I needed to figure something out. And I sat down and I just kind of like cleansed my thoughts and thought about it. And I just figured something out. I just thought about what the go-kart was doing, and it made sense. So I did it, and I remember we didn't really. I dropped out of the heat race for that. I got in a little bit of a wreck, and like we bent a rim, so I had to drop out of the race for the final 50 lap feature. I think it was 40 laps, but same thing. And um, so I had to start in the back of that feature, and I drove it all the way up to second, and it was just I love the feeling of when like that you're the fastest. I
Oh
mean
yeah.
it's like you can't go wrong, and it's great. And like it was just to know that I grew up there and to go back and just show them, this is what I've learned. This is what I could do. It was awesome. Just yeah, and I mean I was so happy. People if you watched me on my last lap of that race, even though the leader he was so far gone. I mean, he was like pretty much right on my tail. He was right on my tail. I mean, he lapped everybody but me. I think he gave that to me. Um, thanks for not lapping me, Kirk Webber. But he because he started pulling, he got away, and I don't know, he's pretty good that day. And my cart started to get a little bit tighter, but that's just what happens, And if you watch my last lap, I mean, I was fist bumping it and just loving it. It looked like I won the race, even though I know I didn't. And people were asking me, "Hey, did you win that race?" I'm like, "No, I know I didn't. I know I didn't." But
Yeah.
it was perfect. And actually, there's a award next to that. This little black and blue one right there. That is my 2021 most popular driver award, and that was from Aberdeen. But that award itself, um, you can't win that award. You
No,
just you can't. It doesn't matter how fast you are. You can't win that award. That is honestly out of anything I could ever get. If you get something like that, I mean that's as that's as best as you can get, I think. I mean there's a lot of races like stuff that people dream to win, but like I mean your heart and soul, that's it right there. I mean, and it's just I think I was man, I think I was like 13 or 14 when I got that too. That was awesome. I mean,
so
but
so Landon, where
yeah,
did your race car number come from? Where did that whole story begin with the race car number?
yeah. So, um, man, the 42. Okay, this is a funny story. Yeah, it's just weird and whack how I got it. So I'm this young kid, and I'm like, getting kind of into racing and kind of figuring out stuff. And I noticed that Ken Block was number 43, right?
Okay.
Richard Petty was number 43.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. And I just kind of I was like, you know what? Well, these are both like two of like the coolest people I looked up to. And they're like, well, why don't I just be one better than them? So that's a little bit where I got 42 from. And 42, it was also Jackie Robinson's number. And
It was also Kyle Petty's number too.
that's right. That's right. It was that too. Yeah. And again, I mean, those are people who have like inspired something they did. They really made it grow and they made it popular, which I mean, this is the first time I'm kind of thinking about it and looking at it. I mean, I've known that Jackie Robinson's number 42, and that's kind of why I chose it. But I can see how that number does reflect on me. I mean that is kind of how I think I think that's what I do is I kind of inspire people to, just try something new or just go out and
And another thing too, Landon, that's where
Mhm.
Kyle Larson got his stars number 42 also.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, see what I mean? I mean, yeah, I remember I did watch a little bit of NASCAR and I did like Kyle Larson. And especially
Yeah.
his dirt background is really awesome. Um, yeah, I mean it was a cool thing, and I mean when you look out the number 42 on the internet, it says like 42 is like the meaning of everything. I forgot who said it, but somebody said that. And I thought that was funny that about that number. But
Yeah.
and then like my dad and my older brother Cameron Limberg, he races too, and they both have the same number. It's literally okay. It's okay. And the way my dad had it on his cars, he had like a check through the with the K. So it was like it's his thing was it's check okay to win. But
Okay.
I wanted to be something different. I'm a little bit of an outlier to them, I think.
Yeah. So Landon, okay, what do you have for sponsors on your racing team for your racing team?
Okay, yes, because these people, yeah, yeah, I cannot. I'm sorry. There's gonna be so many people I forgot. I've mentioned only a hair of names, but I mean, there's a couple more people I'm looking at this year, right? But I have Alex Guthmiller from Four Bar Transport. He's doing something really, really awesome for me this year. I mean, I mean, I won't have to worry about a motor problem anymore. Let's just say that. But
Okay.
he's an awesome guy, and I met him through Dustin Fleen, right? And Alex is awesome. If anybody out there has a CDL and is looking for a job, ask Alex Guthenmiller because I'm sorry because yeah, I know he's always looking for guys. I have a couple more, but Alex is an awesome guy. I know my boss. He was my boss at one point. I was a commercial painter, Leifert painting. That is a huge one too. Jim Jim Leifert is the guy. he's always been he's always helped me with, he's been a little bit of a counselor with me. Like, um, he's the type of guy, he raced four wheelers, and he's the type of guy that just always wants me to be on my edge, you know. He's the type of guy that just he gives you an edge. I mean, he gives you
Oh yeah,
that killer feeling that you need, you know? And he's a great guy. I mean, he's funny. I mean, I could talk to Jim for hours too. He's an awesome guy. I'll never forget Jim. I know Jim, he loves me. I mean, he really liked me working too, but I run a laser now. But Jim's an awesome guy. There and gosh, there's a lot of people that I'm gonna mention some of my past sponsors too. I had my aunt on there at one time. Um, she is oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Mainstream Realty. She helped me out
okay,
too. They kind of they they kind of gave me some money growing up. Like, okay, here you go, have fun with it. My first sponsor was Dakota Bodies. That was where my dad worked.
okay,
It's actually on this red door right there. That was my first one.
okay,
Um,
okay,
but yeah, I mean, I don't know if it wasn't really like a spot. It wasn't set in stone. It was more of a my dad worked there, and if he needed something out of the scrap pile, we just took it. And
okay.
we put their name on there because we did get like a couple things that worked out great for us. And who oh man, there's a handful. So we got my uncle also, he got on board for a few years. That is Troy Carp University. When he was growing up, this is a made up university that he's made, and we just wanted to put him on there. I mean, he helped me out
Okay.
great, but Troy Carp University. Oh yeah. Um we did do our own wrap last year. So we put I know Justine, I bought her a Cricut and she helped do a lot of the vinyl. And I am not a very big vinyl person. So she designed my wrap last year. Justine's my girlfriend. She
Okay.
she's awesome. She comes to all the races with me now. She washes tires and cords, and I mean she does everything I don't want to do, and it's perfect. I mean, me and her work really, really, really good together, you know, and uh through racing we bond together. But I got her on there for Bullseye Vinyls. Um, it's her kind of thing. She does a lot of arts and crafts, and she likes
Oh
doing
yeah,
vinyl, so why not? You know, she's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's I know there's a couple more I might actually be asking for this year. Um, just some buddies that I've known for a long, long time, it feels like, and they've helped me out a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, that was that's great. That
Are you
was
still looking for sponsors, Landon?
yeah, yeah, I'm still looking for a couple because so sadly enough, this year, we'll talk I'm sure we'll go over like my ideas at UNOH and stuff. But so this will be like my last year karting for maybe a while, as far as I know. So um I have pretty big plans for this next year because of how last year went. I think I can take it another step, you know? So there's a couple people that yeah, I'm looking for some for sponsors to just kind of keep me going a little bit harder, you know? I mean there
Okay.
I don't have it all. I mean I worked, I mean, a full-time job with high school to do this stuff, you know, and I'm still saving money to go to Ohio. So I mean it's getting a little bit tighter, you know, and um they'll talk about my job for a minute too. They're awesome people. So I when I turned 18, so that was September 17th, and September 18th, I started a job as a laser operator. So um that was an awesome opportunity too. I mean, I'm really glad that they let me do that. And so what happens, it works out that I I'm a person that loves like the man machine bond. So I love working with machines and stuff. I mean, I'm not a big computer guy, but I do like I do programming at work and stuff. And actually Monday I am the youngest guy at Custom Fab, and I'm running the biggest machine, the biggest laser they have at nights, which for a couple months,
Wow.
I think that's pretty impressive.
So Landon, being you're looking for sponsors, I'd like to help you out here. If there's anybody going to be out here watching this racing show with me and Landon Moser, reach out to him because he'd like this. He'd appreciate the sponsorship on his race cars to get further into his racing career.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, there's I mean, I've had some people that have just really helped me up when I was down. Like for instance, we went to the Max Daddy this past year and like I was just gonna sleep in my truck like I kind of have at some of these racetracks. I mean, I'll go racing for 2, 3 nights of the week sometimes, and me and Justine just sleep in my truck. And I mean, I don't feel like it's wrong or nothing, you know. I stop at a truck stop, get a shower. It's just life racing. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, I love it. I really do. And I had one of my buddies' families, and they felt really bad that when I told them I was going to just sleep in my truck, and they lended me up a bed, and me and Justine a bed at the hotel, and that was awesome for them. I mean, there's been some people that just, you know, it's the little things. It really is that just makes you, you know, really love the people and the community that racing has built. You know, like um, there's people I'll never forget over the smallest things. Like there was one lady
yeah.
that literally just used like a little bit of lipstick on my jacket zipper, and I never forget her. That's Brandy Cartney. So thank her so much. There's been so many people though that just that I mean, I don't know if it was they knew they just felt like I was an awesome guy and they just wanted to help me as much as I could. Or I mean, there's people that help me. I don't know what I can do in return for them. And they're just keep doing you. You know, I love them a lot more than they know. You know, I mean, if I could give back to everybody that's given to me, I mean, it'd be so hard to. I mean, it really struck my heart with a lot of these people, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Talking about next year, Landon, do you realize where the Max Daddy is going to be at next year?
Yeah. So that's a rough one. That's a rough topic. So, me and Golden Spike Speedway, it is at Golden Spike Speedway, right? And
Yeah,
um, man, that track. So, this is another great family I can't forget. First time I went there, I went with my buddy Wade Hansen, and honestly, I look up to his dad Don like he's another father to me. I mean, he is an I mean, I've only spent like maybe 5 or 8 days with the guy, you know, in my life I've talked to him every now on the phone, but I look up to him like a father, you know. I mean, he's an awesome guy. And we went to that racetrack and it's never happened to me before, but every single lap that race, the whole day is either me or Wade leading the race. And that was awesome. You know, you and your buddy, you go out racing somewhere you both never been, and you both lead almost every single lap. If it wasn't him, it was me. If it wasn't me, it was him. And yeah, we did end up winning that race. He did. I uh I had a mechanical issue, but I mean, see what I mean? I mean, there's so many times in my racing career that it could have been all just perfect, but simply the stars just don't line up sometimes. And
oh yeah,
I
yeah.
accept that. I really do. Because I mean, I'm gonna get it right someday. I'm gonna get it right and it's gonna hurt.
Oh
It's
yeah.
gonna it's gonna just work, you know. But
So
I think
Landon, what is your 5 year plan with your racing career?
5 year plan.
Yes.
Okay, so for the next 5 years, right? Oh man, that's kind of a hard one. So um I recently have really been I got accepted already to UNOH, which
Okay.
is I mean, I'm sure everybody
Yeah.
that races knows what UNOH is,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not totally throwing the whole thing away to go to college, you know, but it is going to be I want to see what it's like living there and stuff and going to school and all that, but my 5 year plan with it honestly is I mean, getting into karting, getting into racing, it's it's shown me that, you know, when I sat back and think about it, it's what I want to do in life. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I mean, without being super religious or, none of that, I believe, the reason why I'm on the planet is to pursue racing, is to be a part of it. I mean, it's something I wake up and I love and I think about it all day, and then I hit the bed and I go to sleep and I'm still thinking about it, you know. I mean,
Well, like
it's
me, I
something.
eat, sleep, and breathe it too.
Right, right. I mean, and yeah, so I'm thinking I'll race this year, and it's just something about me putting this. This is the first time I've ever had a brand new frame, and that's all I bought was just the frame, a couple other components, stuff like that. But this is the first time I've had something, brand new, right? And like it is just looking like I should have, I mean, a great year. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna have any weak links this year, really. But it should be great. And then so yeah, I think I'll have a great year this year. I think like I'll go to school. I'll go to Ohio. It, and have heard about some kart tracks there. They do a different tire, which I'm nothing wrong with that because I mean the more you learn, you're only gonna know more, right? I mean,
Exactly.
so I'm thinking when I go to college and stuff, I might still get out, and
Oh
kind of
yeah.
experience. I mean, I think I'm not gonna do it as hard. I say that now, but watch me in a couple years,
Oh yeah.
But I still think I'm gonna do it. I still want to get behind the wheel and stuff. But my main focus is really gonna be just going to school and learning absolutely everything I can get, and um well, I think was it like I'm sorry for mispronouncing this wrong, but it's like an A it's like an ERA certified mechanic or something where it shows
Yes.
that you're certified and everything, right? And I want to get that, and I want to get on like their motorsports team, and um I think if I go like I want to go pit for somebody like yeah, so I'd be like a high performance race car technician. So I'd go pit for like a late model team or a dirt late model team or
Oh yeah.
something,
Oh, yeah.
or modified team or
Yep.
whatever it may be, and just go learn that. And then I think I'll learn as much as I can now while you're young, and I can still go and do all this stuff. I think someday, I mean, I don't think I'll drift away from it ever. I think someday I'll eventually be behind the wheel again, you know. But I don't think it'll stop me. I think if I learn as much as I can, I'm gonna know what I'm gonna need to do. And like, man, if I had, it's so hard because if I had 5 more years in karting, it, I think I would only go up. I don't think I would get it. I don't think I would only go up. But moving on to like something bigger and something I want to do every day in life, and something I wake up for and just love every day. That's something a lot of people just they don't get or they don't go for. And not to like beat on them, but I mean it's if you can do it, why not? If that's what you want to do, go out there and do it. And that's kind of how my race career has been is if there's something I believe in or there's something I want to go do, I believe I always went out and at least tried it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Landon, okay, you said that's your 5 year plan. What's your 10 year plan, man?
Oh boy. Oh boy. So yeah, 10 years. I think in 10 years from now, we'll just we'll do like that. 10 years from now, um, I think I could eventually see myself. I'd be like 28 then. I could probably see myself starting to want to get behind the wheel a lot more. I think in 10 years, I could probably be like working with a race team or something and also
Oh yeah.
racing myself. I think I would I think by that time, I don't know if I'd still want to be in a go-kart. I mean, it is so hard because karting's all I know and I love it and it's awesome. And if I were to move up into a car, I bet you I would love that too. It's
Yeah.
it's just it all depends kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'm as you can tell, I'm a person that I'm very free through life because I feel like I mean even with racing, if you're sitting on the grid at the racetrack and you put in a plan in your mind about what you're gonna do, I mean it's 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work and it falls through and you have to do something else. So it's that's kind of how I see life too is you just gotta work with it and you gotta exploit every moment the most you can to get the most out of
Yep.
it. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't
No.
think there is. But I think I can see myself racing something eventually. And I
Yeah.
think in 10 years I think I'll just keep doing better and better and better. I mean it's hard to say because you ask I mean I would love to say I want to be a race car driver in 10 years and I want to do that for a living in 10 years, but it's it all just it just flows.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what I'm going to be doing. But I mean, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you one thing. It probably will be racing. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
So,
But
Landon, when you're behind the wheel of your go kart, what helps keep you psyched up and motivated to do this?
what helps me keep me psyched up and motivated? Okay, that's a great question. I really like that. That's a great question. Um, it I actually think it's just the drive of me wanting to just I mean, like every time I get behind the go-kart, I just I become it's the calmest I'll ever be. I mean, I close my eyes, I try to get my go-kart as soon as I can, and I open up my palms. And sometimes I say a prayer, maybe. I'm not a super religious person, but take it how you want. But I'm calm with myself, and it's a feeling that I love, and it almost I kind of shut everything off, and I go right, and there's a lot of things that keep me wanting to do this. It's the people in it. It's me just have a feeling in my heart that I love this. Or I mean, I just think about me when I was a kid. I mean, if I saw me now, if you asked what was my 5 years ago plan, it would have never been this. It or 10 years ago, I would have never saw myself here. I really would. I mean, 8-year-old me, if you'd have told me this is what you'll be doing, this is what your life would be looking like in the future from now, I would, I'd go crazy. I really would. And I don't think I'd work as hard if I knew where I was going to be. But
Yeah.
it's just, it's just the will and the drive to just get better. And I think I've been told this too. Um, One of my main goals for the next year is what drives me the most and what's going to want me to do it is because I have not won like a check yet. I have not won a jacket. I have not won like a whole lot of money. I have not won like nothing big. It feels like I've been close a lot. It feels like I just need a little push or I just need, the go-kart a little bit looser or I just need, an extra half pound of air, something, and I want to get it right and I want to get something big. And I've been told that your first one is your hardest. I've been told that same thing with like my first feature win. It was crazy when I won a feature. I mean, I got out, I'm a very emotional person at the racetrack, after I'm done racing and I hugged everybody and I kind of teared up a little bit. But I think, it's the feeling of if I do get something like that, uh, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna want any less. I know I'm gonna want more after it, but I want to complete it, and
Good.
something that keeps me like working on cars and all that type of stuff is just like you almost get like you feel like you've bettered yourself in a way to take something that like was broken or sometimes I'm impressed that oh my God, I actually fixed that, or wow,
Oh, yeah.
that actually that actually I did this change and the go-kart did that. That's crazy, and just to know that kind of stuff, and just it makes me happy. It really does. It's hard to put it on one thing because there's just so many things about it that just make it right for me. But I it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So Landon, okay. Um, okay. So when you're at the racetrack, you're getting hungry. What's your go-to food?
Oh my God, that's great. Oh man, it's like any racetrack food, huh? Like
Yeah.
anything. Oh my gosh. This is my heart and soul right here. This is everything I wanted. Are you ready for it?
Yes, I am.
So, if we're in Wisconsin, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
walk and I walk up to the concession stand, right? And there's some sweet old lady there, like, someone with a smile, and there I look up on the board and they got some cheese curds waiting for me. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Where's one time I spent $40 at the racetrack on just cheese curds. I mean, it was I
Those
loved
curds
it.
are good. They are very good. I
Oh,
give you that.
oh my God. I don't know what these people do behind the concession stands, but God, they make some great stuff. And cheese curds is at the top of the list. I mean, I've had some burgers and hot dogs over the years, nachos, but God, them cheese curds, they're even squeaky. Like they got you can even just feel the grease running into you. So you're like, man, this is gonna this is gonna
Oh
hit
yeah.
me later. This is gonna hit me
Oh
later. This feels good right now.
yeah. Oh yeah. So
Cheese curd.
Landon, when you're away from the racetrack, what's your go-to restaurant then?
Oh, so I'm thinking if we're leaving the racetrack, man, that's honestly, I really like oh man, I gotta tell you a story. All right. I think it
Okay.
is this, but one time we're actually at Golden Spike Speedway in Blue Earth,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And um if so how this racetrack is, it's actually like a huge race. You've been there, right?
I have never been there. I'm going to try and get there next year.
Oh man, you got it. So they have it's an old racetrack, right?
Okay.
And I mean, there's the front straightaway, and the front straightaway, it kind of has like the go-kart track and like where corner one and two would be, right?
Okay.
And there's a baseball field next to it, and then on the other side of the racetrack, there's a field for like a pit area, and on the other
Okay.
end of this field, there's a Dairy Queen, right?
Okay.
So one time, I sent my buddy Wade Hanson. He came racing with me, and this was just last year. He borrowed somebody's pit bike, and we're literally, I mean, I'm getting in the go-kart to go on the racetrack, and he comes back on this pit bike with like an Oreo like shake from
Oreo
from
blizzard.
Dairy
Oh yeah.
Queen.
No
Oh yeah, and
God, yeah.
oh yeah, I ate half of that thing sitting in my go-kart with it running. I mean, that was awesome. I think, oh man, honestly, McDonald's, you're out in the heat all day and you're sweating real hard. McDonald's are always open. I mean, if Dairy Queen's not, McDonald's, or there's just, oh man, or I'm a good person after the race trip, after the races. I'm like I'm a little bit tense and stuff, so like even if we even just go to somewhere, if anywhere's open to go like sit down and eat, oh, that's perfect. You can't get any better than that. I mean, sometimes we have to resort to like some lizard fingers at the gas stations. Them hot dogs have been rolling on there for like a couple months now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sometimes you just got to take one for the team and eat one of those, but a Dairy
You know,
Queen.
you were talking about McDonald's land. I'm going to give you a little insight on something. I didn't know until about a couple weeks ago. Do you go to Walmart quite a bit?
Oh yeah, I'd say. I mean, oh yeah,
Okay,
my
go down
girlfriend
the
does a
sauce
lot.
aisle. Go down the aisle that has like ketchup and sauces.
Yeah.
You'll find that thing in there that says under the great value section, it says secret sauce. Pick up a bottle of that because that's Big Mac sauce.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
They sell that at Walmart?
Yeah, so it's called Great Value Secret Sauce. It's called Big Mac's. It's actually Big Mac sauce.
No way. Oh
Yeah.
my God. You just made my life better.
Yeah.
You know what you just started? This is gonna be bad.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
gonna have,
yeah.
oh man, I'm gonna have to go on a diet now. It's gonna be bad.
I went to Walmart and I thought, well, I found it on Google. I thought, well, I'm going to go into Walmart and see what they've got. Well, I picked up a bottle of it and I was like, I'll be son of a business.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah, definitely. So when
man,
you're
that,
at home, what's your favorite home cooked meal, Landon?
hmm?
When you're at home, what's your favorite home cooked meal?
Oh, home cooking mac and cheese, mac and
Oh,
cheese, all the way. Hey, I mean, you don't get any better than that. Like, I don't know what I do because like this is a weird saying. If I'm at your house and you make mac and cheese, I mean, it's sad because it's not going to be the same because when I make it, I mean, it's terrible for your body, but I get the butter out and I just put tons of butter in that thing.
oh,
I mean, oh my God, it's perfect. I mean, if you haven't tried it, like it makes the cheese like way better. I mean, it is it's great. You got to try it. Mac and
oh yeah.
cheese, but just put a ton of butter in. I mean, just a little bit of milk and just load that butter up. Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
like like almost a whole stick of butter. I mean, just to one box. I mean,
Oh God.
oh, it's perfect. It is so good.
So Landon, growing up, who was your racing hero?
Oh my gosh. Mm, there's so many. Um, I would almost say like my dad. I really would. I mean, I always kind of wanted to like do my best and show him that, I could do it, and almost show him that I could be better in it. I don't want to say it like that, but I want to show him that, and there's some people like Landon shot. He really showed me like when I started racing, he was the first person I talked to. Like the first person I talked to. And now I'm racing him, you know? So I mean, like there was one day where I texted him and I literally got his signature on one of the blower covers on one of my motors in the garage right. I mean,
Wow.
that's how much I looked up to him. And he just I know he was a mentor at a school. No, he was like a counselor at a school. So he has a great way with just playing like with your mind and just like there was one race I was just so nervous. I was so nervous to do it, And he came up to me and he just really soothed my mind. And just what I did with the go-kart after that was crazy. I mean, I did really good that race, and it was great. I mean, I really do look up to Landon a lot just because I mean, I've never done a whole lot for him. I've always tried to, but he has just given so much back to me. And he started Victory Lane Clothing. I almost should be wearing my hat right now, but he make sure anybody out there look at Victory Lane Clothing. He's
Yeah.
an awesome guy. I love Landon. He really showed me a lot, and I wanted to be like him. I mean, so he looks at it as, oh, hey, you beat me a little bit, I beat you a little bit, it's how racing is. It honestly is. I mean, he's got great way of racing. But I mean, that right there, my second place trophy. I mean, I beat him in that. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool because it was oh my God, this guy like taught me how to race and he showed me how to race and I had it figured out a little bit more than he did and I drove away from him and that was awesome. But
Yeah.
Landon's I think recent like the last couple years I really looked up to Trevor Rouge because he was kind of in the same shoes as I am. Like he kind of I can relate to him the most because me and him are about the same. He started years before I did,
Yeah.
and he's always been like a coach to me in like the past couple years. Is you know, he's always been there for me and always, he's been more excited for me for stuff than I even was. Like he he was, oh my God, you just did that, man. This is what you just did. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
but I mean, there's a handful of people. I mean, there's even my brother. I mean, it's me and him. He races a B mod, and man, we tried to get him in a cart, but he wouldn't do it because I mean, I don't like the B mods because there's the class. Let's be honest, the classes honestly went crazy from what the B mods were supposed to be to what they actually are.
Yeah.
It it's it's hard for a guy like my brother to race and be consistent and like yeah. I mean, so that's saying, the guys who are, great mod B mod drivers, I mean, it's hard to stay up there. It really is. I believe
It
it.
is really is.
But yeah, I mean, I look up to my brother too a lot too. I always when we were younger and living in the same house together, we were always like beating up on each other. And when we grew up, I mean, we
What
came.
sibling doesn't, though? What sibling doesn't?
I mean, honestly, I mean that is so true. I mean, I never understood that until it happened to me because he moved out and I missed him, you know, and I
Yeah.
didn't like him, because he's always had like the best games and he always got to do this and then he moved out and I was like, where's my brother at?
Oh, yeah.
But and he's a great guy. My brother's awesome. I mean, he works with my dad at Dakota Bodies and he recently got employee of the month there, so that was he's an awesome guy and he always tried to help me out when I was getting through starting to get into racing. He
Oh, yeah.
really he bring me just and those are the days that you really wish that's all racing was, you know, you and your dad or you and your brother just go racing a day. Just I mean, a local racetrack, just go out and just have fun. I mean and then I start racing like these bigger races and stuff and it's really not like that. I mean, it's more it's a struggle. I mean, I still do have fun with it. Not saying I don't. I mean, I have so much fun racing. It's crazy. I mean, we do struggle and sometimes we get mad, but you know, you get the lowest of lows and you get the highest of highs. So it's
Oh, yeah.
but
So, Landon, what do you like to do away from the racetrack for
um
fun?
yeah, so um I know I like to drive snowmobiles a lot. I think that's kind of where I learned to drive was actually through a snowmobile because like what the only difference is like with a snowmobile it's a lot of body movements and stuff, but I think you can kind of feel like how weight moves a lot on a snowmobile. And I really like that. We try to get some fishing in still like when we're racing week after week or whatever. I mean, we still work in an hour of fishing or something or go out for 2 hours. I think over the winter I have some buddies who I bought a shack and we'll go fishing a little bit. I mean, I've always kind of wanted to. I've went goose hunting a couple of times. I wanted to get into that a little bit more, but man, just going out sitting in some cold field. I mean, it's not as good as firing up the go kart and just whacking the throttle for 30 laps, and just hanging
Oh,
on.
yeah.
I mean, it's not as good. It really isn't. It's when you do 40 laps with the best people in the Midwest, it's just not as good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is gonna sound a little funny, but like, I I want to do a lot of hobbies. I really do, but it's hard because like even let's say cooking. I mean, I even kind of like cooking sometimes, even though I'm not very good. Like I just like all the stuff and all the stuff you can play with and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean fishing. Um, me and my dad used to do a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, or just hanging out with my brothers or I mean, like you know how like some kids will like go to their room, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm a little different. I'll go to my garage to relax. I really do. I mean, it's a cool environment. I got like all my points, championship trophies, and I just kind of got all that stuff. Got my cart there, and most time I keep it pretty warm out there, and I have like a little project work going on, or I even like just trying to diagnose a problem because I think I got that from my dad a lot. But I
How
just
many how many trophies and championships do you have in your career?
okay, so yeah, there's not as many as there should be, I think. But I haven't won any like oh man, I should have went for it a little bit harder a couple years. I think um so some of those years that I raced Aberdeen, all we needed was we needed to show up at the racetrack like one or two more times and we would have won the championship. We just when I was starting racing, like we didn't go out every weekend. I mean, we raced once, maybe twice a month,
Oh yeah.
and because I mean, with a family and like we had a we I had a newborn baby brother coming up through the years of like my racing, so they kind of it was money was tighter and all that, but like I don't I mean I'd say maybe 15, like trophies and stuff that
Okay,
I
okay.
just I mean and then there was some racetracks that maybe you wouldn't get a trophy or maybe you get like a sticker or something, but I mean I feel and there were so many times exactly where the stars just don't line up or
Oh
but
yeah.
I mean to me the memories there's a lot there. I mean I think there's definitely more to come, you know. And yeah, but again, I mean this year was like our most successful, and I mean that like I even call there's even some things in my garage that I look at and there's just to me it's a trophy because it's like I mean I'm not counting those as the trophies, but like I'll have like a broken part of a body and I'll remember who hit me, or I'll like there's just some cool things that like we'll pick up at a racetrack and like there's a rock with like a blue streak on it and I had a blue body and like when I pulled off the racetrack, we found the blue rock and it has like a blue streak from my body on it and we kept it. I mean, or my buddy Gavin Gregory, he when I first met the guy, again, here goes again. I didn't like the guy because one time he ran into me and I got like a piece of his body that got stuck in my go-kart and I have it hanging up on the wall. I mean, there's just random stuff. I I'm like that. I really am. I take like just like what do they call them? Like little intricate like sort of things that you just kind of find and it's man that was cool we got that a souvenir or whatever but oh yeah I wish I had as many like trophies in racing as I did in swimming. I mean I was a great swimmer but like
What do your school friends think of you being a race car driver?
okay okay so there's actually one of my friends. I feel bad for the guy almost but his schedule and my schedule will never line up. I swear they never do. But he's been coming over to my house and helping me like through the week and stuff, work on stuff and take the go kart apart and put it back together, clean stuff, whatever, putting tires on. His name's Carson Hansen and he's a hockey player. He does a lot of sports and stuff, but he lives 3 blocks away from me. And he does so much shop time, but he does a lot of, he I mean he comes over maybe a couple times a month or whatever to come and work on this stuff with me and he's never been to a race yet. There was one time we were going to a race and it rained out. And there was weekends where I'd go pick him up and then something happens and he has to go with his family somewhere or I mean there's so many I mean and like this is a huge point too. Like when you tell somebody, "Oh yeah, I drive a go-kart." They don't they don't take it. They think, "Oh, I go to Thunder Road and beat that." Like it's not the
Yeah.
same. It's really not. I
Yeah.
mean, like and I guarantee, like, there is so many hours and just trial and error with my racing stuff that, I couldn't wrap it in words when people ask. I couldn't wrap it around their head of what it what it is, what it takes out of you. Um, there is some people that like they always I'll be like, yeah, I drove a go-kart, and I'll show them a picture, and they're like, I want to drive it. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay, if you think so,
Yeah.
but um, I don't know. I mean, it's a cool it's a cool thing to tell people, and some people, it depends like who you're talking to, and some people will really like to hear about it and really like have a good conversation with you and ask me like a whole bunch of, how do you do this, or what do you do with that? And I mean, I've every time I've shown somebody, I've always tried to get them into it because I think that's the biggest thing that our sport needs. And a lot of people really do. It's just I think I almost surprise them a little bit much when I tell them all the stuff that I do to do it. And I think they almost get a little bit like, oh my God, I don't have that much time, or, but I mean, there's some people that, I know I did sell like hoodies and shirts and stuff a couple years ago. And I actually had like, I probably sold like 50, 70 like shirts and hoodies and hats and stuff to just, I would like go to school with like my backpack full of Landon Moser hoodies, and I'd put them on like my Snapchat story or Facebook or whatever, and people would start, coming by me in the hallway. Here you go. You want a hoodie? I was like, start asking my friends and people who wanted a hoodie, show them it, and I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of support. And um, let's talk. I don't want to. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'll bring up this point with my Times Up Motorsports page because this is a great way for them to reach out and kind of watch it and just be a part of it, because that is why I do lives, is because with a live you can have people interact with
Oh yeah.
you talking about racing. And I honestly cannot, I mean, I honestly think I have better feedback and like just better fan base than like, I mean, a lot of people do, because it is if I start a live, and I used to like never tell people when I'd started, and I just started, and there'd be people on there, and I get like 150 comments, and it was of just, and yeah, and like the amount of fan feedback I get is, it's perfect, because there's people, I'll make a live and they'll text me, hey, I felt like this about this, or maybe you should try this, or and the whole thing really started was me and my brother, he actually came up with the whole idea and I stole it from him. Okay. I'm gonna be honest about this. Yeah. And so we're like, hey, why don't we start like have like an LLC for like racing? You know how like some people, I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
looked a whole lot, they make their racing a business, right? And so I made the motorsports page, and I threw like some pictures that we had on there, and I wanted it. We both kind of like, I started the page because he didn't want to do all the work into it and stuff. So I started the page, and I had like his race car some weekends, and I just put pictures up and I'd tell how he did and stuff, and then I would do that for me. And then I just figured, how and then if you, I'm sure you've done it, but you go to the racetrack after the races, what's everybody doing? They're out talking and walking around and talking to everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just, and that's a great feeling. I mean, I love that. That is the culture that is like the backbone of our sport, I believe. Is just
Exactly.
after the races, everybody gets together and just has a good time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to create, like online, was just like there'd be times where, oh my God, I had to go, like I had to leave the racetrack like earlier than I wanted to because my dad would be like loading up, and I created this. So then I started doing the lives, and I would just kind of do like what I would do after the races and just as talk to people and ask like questions. And yeah, I mean you get what I'm saying, like why I
Oh yeah.
started. And yeah, and I mean I think it did blow up because like when I go to Plessis Motor Speedway, they'll announce my name, Landon Moser, the B main bandit. or like Lane Moser, Times Up Motorsports, and it's awesome to hear. It's really cool to see that something that, I mean, I'm not like a big um like online like editor or anything, but it worked. I think it works good.
Oh yeah.
But
So, Landon, do you have anybody else you'd like to send a special thank you out to for getting you this far with your racing career?
um oh my gosh, this is gonna be hard. So I'd like to thank like the Gregory family, the Wheelhouse family, definitely the Cartney and Shot family. They both really got me into it. Um, Definitely my mom, my dad. They they started it for me. I mean, I had the will to do it, but they started it for me. Um, Dustin Fleen, the whole Fleen family, they're great. Alex Guthmiller, Jim Leifert, those guys. Justine, my girlfriend, she goes to so many races with me. I mean, she's my other half at the racetrack. Like I couldn't do it without her at the race. Like when I need somebody at the racetrack, she's there, right? And yeah, there's there's so many people like Chris Holt, the Holt family. Um, I'm missing so many people. I really am. I mean, the um, Jermaine family. I would say like all the racetracks I've went to, because like without them, like none of this would be real. I would never get experience to go and race. And like I've never prepped a racetrack or nothing. But like the people that do that, like they put hours in, just like me and whoever else puts this stuff together to go racing. So I mean, it's you got to thank those people a lot too, that give you a great racing surface, because without them, I mean, they get no thanks for it, but they do a lot. Man, there's so many people. Trevor Roosh, definitely, and his brother Rick, they're both awesome people. I mean, there's a handful. Zach Axlin, um, just anybody that I talk to at the racetrack, really. Anybody that says hi, or anybody who's even liked one of my posts, that truly means the world to me. Even if you're just swiping through, you read 8 words of my post and you like it. I mean, that you're a fan. To me, you're like family, even if you see, even if you give me a high five, whatever it may be at the racetrack, it just there's so many people. I mean, it's gosh, see, I'm like running out of people. That's why I'm I mean, I'm
So,
not running
Landon,
out. I can't think.
do you have any advice for the kids coming up in the racing world to get
Oh
them behind the
man,
wheel?
that's a great question. So I have taught a couple kids kind of how to race, and I've kind of been like almost a coach for a couple kids. And I mean, it's an awesome thing to take, a junior one, a rookie, whatever it be, a real young kid, and just see him turn laps and just see him get better. And like and I do that because that's what Landon Shot did for me. Is he would tell me drive it like this, or do this, or and he would give me, constructive criticism. And you can't be afraid of any of that, because
Yeah.
that's racing. And the big thing about racing is any kids getting into it, you will learn just so many lessons from racing that you can apply to life. So I mean, you don't have to be a good racer to be good at your job. Yeah, whatever. But racing can teach you, you don't leave like a half done job, because
No,
let's say you leave something half done on your go-kart or your race car. It's not going to work,
no.
and what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And it's just, you always, you don't give up, and you gotta be a people person, you know. Um, the people around you is what makes it, really. I mean, I see a lot of kids and their dad go racing and stuff, and my dad doesn't do that a whole lot more with me, but like, I mean, that'd be awesome because he's a busy guy. I mean, he's a night manager at his plant, so he's very busy. And again, when he's got time off, he wants to do something, other than work. But like you got to cherish a lot of those people, and like sometimes, like if you just have to put your head down and work, and like listen to yourself is a big thing. Like you may have 8 people telling you 15 different things, but the only true thing that's going to matter is what you think in the end, and I mean there's you almost just have to sit back and listen because I mean I can only teach you so much, or if I'm helping somebody I can only do so much for them before I can't drive it for you, or I mean there's it's perfect to get into, and you just have to keep an open mind and just live it and soak it in, and just that's how you get better, I think, is you take a mistake and you handle it, because I mean you don't get mad or nothing, you figure it out, and
Yeah,
yeah, I mean any young kids getting into it, I mean you're gonna love it. You probably I'm sure a lot of young kids getting in it, you gotta love it. And I mean you don't get too cocky about nothing. I don't think you should, at least. I think you should just soak it in, and I mean enjoy it while you can, because it's not always going to be like that. And just have an open mind, and just love it. I mean, just don't be someone you're not, or it's like getting into like a different school, but I think it's a lot different because it's racing. But
yeah.
there's so many good things with it.
So, Landon, I'm going to do something pretty spectacular. I do this for all the racing show guests now. Are you ready for this?
Was that?
I'll turn around and put the mic on you, and you can ask me a couple questions. How's that?
Oh really? Oh boy.
Yeah,
I know you were telling me about how you guys got started with Clay Evans, right?
yeah.
So how did that all work with you and Clay? And like what was your whole idea of the racing show, and what did you want out of it? Kind of sort of
I
thing.
wanted to just, well, long story short, when we first come out with this idea, he's the one that kind of was the one that said, hey, all these superstars, NASCAR drivers, drag racers, World of Outlaw stuff, they have their own show to go to. Be the one for the local guys and the kids that race on the United States, and be that guy. And I was just like, okay, so how? And we just went with it, and it all just worked out in the end.
Right. Right. That I get what you're saying, because same thing with racing. You need those levels, because you can't just have like people who are the best at it racing
Oh
at
yeah.
the smallest they can get. I mean that no one will want to do it. But yeah, I mean I totally support what you're doing there. I mean
And the crazy
that's
thing I
great.
found out to Landon before I got you on here is earlier today I was talking to a driver about coming on my show in February, and we were talking about how we've got 11,000 views on the YouTube channel, and he says, with your racing podcast, something you may not know is he says you're in the top 2% of views on the YouTube, and I was like, I did not know that as a racing podcaster that I was in the top 2%.
That is awesome. I did that
Yeah,
is crazy. And I mean, it's just one of those things, keep an open mind,
yeah,
work hard, and I mean, see, it's great. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah, you definitely need something like this to give the smaller guy a voice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what what's your favorite food? Um at home. At home. We'll
At
start
home,
there.
at home. Okay, mac and cheese is good. I like a good steak on the grill.
Oh,
Oh, oh
oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Game on. It's on. It's
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, you got me beat, I think.
Yeah, a good steak on the grill is good. Yeah, definitely.
So as far as like hobbies and like what is your racing background with it and stuff too?
I grew up around it because when I was 6 years old, that's the sport I gravitated towards. It was just like, man, I would see it on TV. It's like, That's my sport. That's my sport. That's my sport. Everybody else, and when I was growing up, was like football stuff like that. I'm like, no, racing's my sport. That's my sport. That's my sport. So growing up in that whole mentality type deal, I literally have ever since I've been 6 years old, eat, slept, and breathe racing. It's been nonstop,
That's awesome.
nonstop. And I didn't realize until I got to be like middle school slash high school age that I had cousins that were race car drivers. I had one on my mom's side, one on my dad's side, and they both raced in the same class. And it was like, so who you pulling for? It's just like whoever wins. Yeah, yeah.
Could you go help them, or I mean, did you?
No, I got into get on an actual. I did help on a race team for a little bit. As I just met, I was working at a grocery store at one time, and the guy that I had met at the grocery store, he was my shift manager. He says, my brother races, and I says, well, okay, what's he race? He says, well, he runs IMCA mod, and that's like the big mods nowadays. That's not the sport mod; it's the step up above from sport mods. And he's like, he always asks for people to help him out on his race team, and see if you can help him out. I just started helping him out, and he's just like, this is fascinating. I love it. I love it. I love being around it. I love the sound of the engine firing up. I love the smell of the racing fuel. It's just boom. This is where I need to be at.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's yeah, I totally get that. It's a. I mean, even you feel like a go. I mean, it's a go-kart motor, but man, you hear 20 adult motors start for a feature. I mean, it's just as bad. It really is. I mean,
Boy,
I'm sitting in there, my eyes are watering up, and I'm. I mean, this is a go kart, and and that feeling, the green flag comes out for the first time, and you hear, you know, 25 go karts motor up down the back straightaway, and it's like all hell's breaking loose. I mean, it's crazy. I
boy.
mean, there's guys going, I mean, four wide, I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
nuts. I get
Yeah.
that. I really do. Um, so man, I just had one. Who's your favorite dirt driver as far as like dirt
Growing
racing?
up,
All of dirt
growing up
racing.
around the dirt racing scene and the whole ball of wax. When I was younger, when I was like 6 years old, I used to watch the Knoxville Nationals on TV all the time, the roll of all that stuff. And the guy that I gravitated towards, he's actually from your state and just, was my racing hero. And I got to meet him a couple times, Doug Wolfgang. Doug Wolfgang was like,
I've
oh
heard.
my God,
Yep.
this guy is the boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I what years were those and stuff?
Oh, he won
Okay.
the Knoxville Nationals in 84 and 85. Then he won it again in 89. I remember he won it in 89 because, man, his white 8D car was just like, oh my God, that was like a rocket ship back in the day. That was like, oh man. Yeah.
That's the thing. What it like white colors. White, I swear.
His 8D car was white, red with a little blue accent around the 8D. His 29 car that he won in 84 and 85, it was either silver and red or it was silver, red, and blue. But it was the 29 car out of Pennsylvania. It was the Weikert livestock car. And that car was just like nonstop. It was unstoppably fast too.
Really? Uh,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm saying is people get those runs.
Yeah.
And I think I've kind of had like my build up, but I think it happens to people. Exactly right there. You get that one car that gets stuck in your mind and it doesn't stop.
And then
It's like
when Wolfgang quit, I gravitated towards Mark Kinzer, which is Steve Kinzer's cousin.
right.
And I actually had the chance back in 1999. I was at the Knoxville National because I was there in two simultaneously in a row, 98, 99. I happened to be in the pits after Mark Kinzer won his second Knoxville Nationals. And we were walking around the pits because the guy was down there was like, okay, let's go walk around the pits after the race. So he's like, you go your direction, you go mine. We'll meet here in the center, okay? So I was actually moseying my way over to Mark Kinzer's pit, and I was just standing there waiting. Up walks somebody pretty huge out of the World of Outlaw series, and I was just like, oh my God, this guy wants to talk to me, and he wants to have his picture taken with me. Game on. I actually had my picture taken with Carl Kinzer.
Oh my God. No way.
Yeah, Carl Kinzer, the huge crew chief. engine builder for Steve Kinzer and Mark Kinzer back in the day, and I was just like, Carl wants to have his picture taken with me. Let's go.
That is awesome. That I
Yeah.
mean that, and it's just you meet people like that, and yeah, and I bet you look at those people the same way I look at the people who's been in karting for, I mean, like Eddie Bros, 30 years. It's like
Yeah.
it's over that. It's like 33 years. And it's like they feel like legends. They feel like
Oh
a
yeah.
big person.
Oh yeah.
It's an awesome feeling. I mean, I race Eddie. I mean, I look at him like I want to beat you, but it's you have to respect it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's all I mean, and there's been some couple people that I met, like just some of my favorite drivers. There's one guy I don't know if I'll ever meet, but I think my favorite driver is honestly Scott Bloomquist, just
I
because
have met him. I have met him.
you've met Scott Bloomquist.
Yep. I walked up to
Really?
Scott Bloomquist, had a conversation with him, and just kind of pulled him off to the side when he got done signing some autographs. And I kind of just leaned down next to him. He was on his four-wheeler. I says, Bloomquist, I says, been a fan of yours for quite a while. I says, would love to have you on my racing show. And he kind of says, well, do you have a piece of paper? He kind of gave me his private cell phone number at the time.
That's all. Did it happen?
No, I would love to have, but I got to get a hold of. I would love to get a hold of him, but it's just been nonstop busy with this. It's just, yeah, I would love to have him on here.
Right, right. I mean, it's that guy. I mean, late models. Their Daytona 500 is Eldora,
Oh yeah,
just that guy he's crushed it.
oh yeah,
And it's just like he's got such a good outlook on racing. I mean, he's just some chill. He's just some laid back, California hippie dude,
yeah,
surfer guy,
yeah.
and he just goes out there and just goes as hard as he can. Or gosh, who's Devin Moran's dad?
Oh, I don't remember who his dad is, but
Donnie?
yeah,
I think it might be Donnie Moran. That
yeah,
guy is pretty awesome too. And that's like an old school guy. I
yeah.
that's a really cool guy too. But
So,
Scott Bloomquist,
so
it just
Landon, you said your favorite NASCAR driver is Richard Petty, right?
oh man, I don't know if I favorite NASCAR driver. I know I really looked up to Richard Petty just because, like, when I was younger, I always looked up to him as like the world. He changed the sport as of NASCAR at least. He changed that, and he made
Back
that.
when I was, back when I was 9, 10 years old, I got to meet my NASCAR hero,
It was a
Rusty Wallace.
no way,
Yep,
Rusty
he was
Wallace.
down here in Asheville signing autographs at a car dealership, and just had a conversation with him, and really awesome conversation. I've met both of his brothers now. I've met Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart's a pretty cool guy. I've
I
met
bet.
Kenny Strader. I've met Kenny Strader.
Wow. Gosh, I'd like to be Tony Stewart would be a cool guy to see, or it's those guys that either came up from nothing or was just kind of mediocre, and they blew it out of the water. Like
Oh yeah,
I read a book about Tony when I was like a younger kid in school, and yeah, it was just crazy hearing his story in that book. Was
oh yeah,
like, he would be he'd be bouncing he'd be bouncing checks at like race shops just to make it, and he'd be like living out of his truck. And I mean, like that guy went for it. I mean, he earned it. He really did.
oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So Landon, before I let you go for the night, do you have a racing page that the racing fans can follow you on?
Yeah, that would be Times Up Motorsports on Facebook. That is
Well, ladies and gentlemen, go hit up Times Up Motorsports on Facebook. You'll find out some awesome information about my awesome guest, Landon Moser, tonight on the racing
right.
show. So, Landon, I want to thank you very much for being on the racing show with us tonight, talking to us about your racing career. It's been an absolute pleasure and a blast to have you on here. Thank you very much. Definitely. Thanks again. But I'll let you step out, Landon. I will call you in a few minutes to thank you in person. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I want to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for watching.
Yes, not a problem.
Okay.
Bye bye. ladies and gentlemen, that was Landon Moser, go-kart racer out of Aberdeen, South Dakota. Go hit up Times Up Motorsports on Facebook for to keep up with Landon Moser and his racing career. But also, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank some sponsors. Go hit up Dirt Track Race Cars Inc. Company, dirttrackracecars.com for all your racing diecast needs. They've got some awesome 164 scale diecast out there, sprint cars, and they also have some awesome 124 scale classic hot rod, classic dirt modifieds and race cars out there. They have the blank dirt and modified stock cars where you can put your own paint scheme on them. Also, they have it's called the Dirt Track Race Cars Club, where you can join and you can get all the previews of the 164 scale sprint cars that are coming out. Definitely, you can be a part of that. But if you want to get more information about the Dirt Track Race Cars, go hit up Dirt Track Race Cars and Company, dirttrackracecars.com for all your racing diecast needs. Also, I'd like to thank Brody Manning Motorsports for sponsoring this racing show, and also New England Hemophilia Association / Walking with Waylon page, that is Waylon page. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys would like to sponsor a racing show or be on a racing show, feel free to email us at jjnolan151@gmail.com, or you can call or text us at 712-209-7138. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good night. Catch you later. Another episode of the Josh Nolan and Oliver S. Full Throttle Racing Show, #1 on YouTube, and continue living life at full throttle.